Are you just hearing from Republicans on this, or are Democrat constituents like, oh my God, I'm struggling to put my kids in school, struggling to make ends meet, and my tax dollars are being robbed by people, and then they're sending it all over the place, and this is complete fraud. What is going on, and why hasn't anything been done about it?
Tonight, we're breaking down a contentious exchange in Congress involving allegations of public program fraud, political rhetoric, and questions about oversight. Lawmakers debate claims tied to a Minnesota investigation, campaign donations, and broader concerns about accountability. As you watch, you'll notice strong language and sharply contrasting interpretations of the facts. Our goal is to provide context, clarifying what is documented, what remains under investigation, and how congressional hearings often blend policy discussion with political messaging. Understanding that distinction is essential for evaluating what's being presented and what conclusions can reasonably be drawn.
After weeks of viral videos from a young man YouTuber who was literally creeping around daycares by himself, making claims about fraud that were not there, and then the vice president and the FBI director were retweeting these videos without even verifying if they were true. So we're not accusing people of being xenophobic and racist. They are being xenophobic and racist, including the President of the United States. And I want to say, for one, that I stand with the Somali and the immigrant community standing here today.
Mr. Hudson, are you just hearing from Republicans on this, or are Democrat constituents like, oh my God, I'm struggling to put my kids in school, struggling to make ends meet, and my tax dollars are being robbed by people, and then they're sending it all over the place, and this is complete fraud. What is going on, and why hasn't anything been done about it?
I'll give you a personal example. So my family, my in-laws in particular, are politically diverse. A lot of them vote for Democrats, and they're fairly apolitical. They're not like me, all plugged in. And so I kind of use them as a bellwether for what the people are thinking. Across the board, everybody is upset about this fraud.
And I'm guessing when you guys bring this up, whether it's to the Walz administration, whether it's to the AG, the number one thing that comes back at you is you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, or you're an Islamophobe. As we've seen Governor Walz now trying to answer for these questions, he's doing it at the national level. Do you guys hear the same thing at the state level as well?
Yes, absolutely. They always pivot to the divisive. As I stated in my opening statement, it's diversion, right? We're going to talk about personalities. We're going to talk about partisan politics. We're going to find some way to get people yelling at each other rather than looking at the problem.
Or at this point, the discussion expands from alleged misuse of public funds to claims involving campaign donations and possible overseas financial links. It's important to approach these assertions carefully. Federal court records over the years have included convictions related to individuals sending funds abroad to prohibited organizations. However, connecting those historical cases directly to current fraud allegations requires specific, verifiable evidence. Congressional hearings often include references to media reporting, but the inclusion of an article into the record does not by itself establish proof of systemic wrongdoing. Investigations typically require documentation from law enforcement agencies, court findings, or official audits before firm conclusions can be reached. When serious claims involving public funds and national security are raised in a public setting, what standard of evidence should apply? And how should lawmakers communicate allegations responsibly while investigations are ongoing? These are key questions for viewers trying to assess both the substance and tone of this exchange.
Or, like you've heard my colleagues do on this panel, it's Donald Trump, baby.
Yep.
It's all about Donald Trump, right? The old pivot. We're not going to talk about what's going on in Somalia and not going to talk about what's going on in Minnesota with this massive fraud scandal. We're going to talk about Donald Trump. With my remaining seconds, can we play the video I have, Mr. Chairman?
horta aad iyo aad aan ugu faraxsanahay in maanta safaari aan soo gaarnay sida dadka badan ay u og yihiin ciyaalkeena yaryar ilaa iyo number la eg 20 milyan oo ciyaal iskooley ah waxay cuntadooda ka helaan iskoolka kaliya marka waxaan fursad u helnay in aan sharci soo gudbino oo la dhahayo Meals Act oo u fududeynayo in waqtigaanay pandemic aan ku jirno oo dhalinyarada iskoolka aynan joogin oo guryahooda ay joogaan aynan gaajoonin oo familkoodi wili ay fursad u helaan in cunto ay helaan oo meelo qaarkood laga qaybinayo ay cuntada ka soo qaadan karaan marka aadaan ugu mahad celinayaa safaari in ay tahay meelaha sayti oo diyaarinayo cunto maalin kasto dhalinyarada ciyaalkii iyo familkoodina ku taakulaynayo cuntada sayti maalintii kaliyo safaari waxay ay cunto siisaa 2,300 oo ciyaal ah iyo familkooda taas waa mid muhiim ah sida aad u ogtihiin dhalinyaro badan gaajo ku nool wadankaanayti ama familkooda fursad u helin in quraac qada iyo casho ay siiso marka in qadada sayti ay meel ka helaan aaday u muhiimsan tahay bishan ramadaanka oo familiyaalkeena badan iyagoo aan shaqo haysanin iyagoo aan taakulayn kale helaynin in aynan ka walwalin ciyaalkooda yaryar sidii ay qado ku siin lahaayeen waa muhiim marka waxaan u mahadcelinayaa safaariyo kaleete iyo dadka badan oo maalin ilaahay keeno fursad u qaata in ay u volunteer gareeyaan oo ay taakuleeyaan familiyaalka.
One thing that is so alarming is the reporting that many of these fraudulent companies are then donating the stolen money back to the same Democrats that are protecting them and advocate for these very programs. Is that correct, Mr. Hudson?
I would agree with that statement.
Well, we just had one of my Democrat colleagues said these are just opinions. Do you know, are these guys donating money back to Democrats?
Yes, they are.
I'd like to enter into the record, Mr. Chairman, an article from Breitbart News saying, with the title being Database Searches Show Somali Fraudsters Funding Democrat Politicians. So these aren't opinions.
Without objection.
There's actually reporting on this. Are you guys aware? You guys are elected officials in Minnesota, right? Are you guys aware of the reporting that some of the stolen money is getting funneled back to the Islamic terror group Al-Shabaab in Somalia? Mr. Robbins?
Yes, sir. And we have evidence of it going back as far as 2012, where a man was convicted of sending $21,000 to Al-Shabaab. In 2011, 2 Minnesota women were convicted of sending money to different groups. Someone else, we have multiple references of how the Al-Shabaab takes a cut when the money gets to Somalia through the Hawala network. So I think there's ample evidence on this and federal convictions.
Yeah, that's outrageous.
This exchange highlights 2 important realities of modern congressional hearings. First, oversight of public spending, particularly when fraud allegations surface, is a legitimate and necessary function of government. Investigating how taxpayer dollars are used is central to maintaining public trust. Second, today's hearings frequently unfold in a highly charged political environment. Lawmakers often frame arguments in ways that resonate with their constituents, which can sometimes blur the line between established findings and broader political narratives. Allegations involving public corruption, campaign contributions, or international financial activity are serious matters. Ultimately, determining their validity depends on evidence gathered through formal investigations, audits, and court proceedings, not just the intensity of debate. For viewers, the larger takeaway may be less about partisan conflict and more about how accountability processes function, and how evidence is evaluated in public forums. What standards do you believe should guide congressional investigations? Share your thoughts in the comments.